This is a big sweet potato. Guten gardening, everybody. In front of me, I have a blue plastic bin that has a couple of sweet potato slips growing in it. Now that in and of itself is not all that unique because, well, quite frankly, we're trying to grow quite a few sweet potatoes this season in a lot of different ways. But what is unique is what's inside of this blue bin. You see, earlier this season, for the first time after a couple of years of waiting, we emptied out the bottoms of our compost bins. And we put a lot of that compost in our potato beds, some of our other raised beds around here. But then I had a container of it sitting around. And one day I came out to check on my sweet potatoes that were growing in hay, our vertical sweet potato beds. And I saw a couple of slips that didn't look like they were doing much of anything and had died back. And so I took those slips out, I replaced them with newer slips in those beds, and then I took those two slips, and just in the off chance that something might happen, I put them in this compost. And I can tell you with 100% certainty, I didn't fertilize this or anything like that. Once I saw that they had started to grow a little bit, I made the decision that I was going to leave these two sweet potato slips of indeterminate type in this bin of compost to see what would happen. So this is what it looks like, in our case, when we grow sweet potatoes just in compost. Now you can definitely see pieces of the compost that hadn't broken down, some roots and stuff in here. I don't know what this is actually. This looks like what's left of a winter squash maybe. But as I mentioned, there are only two sweet potato slips in here. This one looks like it's come off to the side, but I just took two of our sweet potatoes and buried them in here. Now if I look nice and close right here, I can definitely tell we got some development of sweet potato. I have no idea how these are going to turn out. Again, when we haven't fertilized, we haven't really done anything. I mean, once in a while I came by and I watered this, but I really wanted to see what we would end up receiving just growing in this compost. You see how soil-like it looks? I didn't add any soil to the top. This is just the stuff that's been breaking down, again, for multiple years. We typically grow in our compost, but we've not had any. This is a big sweet potato. Look at that. Oh, wow. I'm going to say, I think this is a Georgia Jet. I'm not 100% certain because, again, I didn't write down what they were when I planted them in here. That's really nice. Again, grown just in compost. Nothing else added to the mix. And I wasn't sure if the critters would come along and try to get a piece of them. Who knows? Who knows how well they're going to develop. Again, when I put them in here, they were kind of dying back at that time. It's the whole reason why I replaced them. And so I was pretty surprised. There's another one. I was pretty surprised when I saw them starting to grow in here. But then at that point, I was like, you know what? I can put this compost down on the rest of our garden afterward. I didn't have to do it right away. And so I knew I could just let them grow for that 100, 110, 115. In this case, it's been about 115 days. All right. I think there's another one right here. This is not that big. This feels just like a little root here. It's just started to expand a little bit. I just think this is crazy cool. One of the questions that's come up is, can you plant directly in compost? Is there enough nutrient density just in compost? Well, I don't know. What I do know is we just got a couple of pretty nice sweet potatoes off of that slip. And these are slips that I was going to throw away. Oh, you know what? I was going to try to pull some of these out of here. Well, I clearly got one to come off here, but I felt a whole bunch disconnect down in here. Now, whether or not they have any size, that's something we're going to have to figure out. Oop, there's one. I'm glad to see that so far it looks like the critters have left these alone. That's definitely not been the case for some of our other sweet potatoes in here. Our potatoes have been wonderful. Like the amount of damage has been minimal. You know what? I think these were both Georgia Jets. Either that or this one's connected. over on this side. I'm not 100% sure, but that round shape really makes me think Georgia Jet. But yeah, they went away from our potatoes, it seems, and really decided this season to feed on our sweet potatoes instead. All right, you see all this cracking right here? We had a really wet, about 2-week period here in Zone 5, Wisconsin. And I'm thinking that that's when, after having all that dry weather, that's when a lot of this cracking probably occurred. But not everything is experiencing that. We're still getting some nice size in here. This container, we didn't intend to grow in this container, but it is a food-safe plastic. In case you're worried, this is a polyethylene plastic. So it's considered to be food safe. There's another one right over here. Let's see if there's anything else down in here. If there's anything else we got. Yep, there's another one. This is a fun experiment. Now I know, we've grown sweet potatoes in the top of our compost bin, or we tried to, but we didn't really get the kind of results that we wanted, primarily because the critters came along and ate them right up. I don't think there's anything else, but let me just try one more time here. The critters came along and ate them right up. Well, this time around, there aren't any holes in the bottom of this container. Oh, there's something over here. There aren't any holes in the bottom of this container. No, this is not a sweet potato. Oh, that is weird. Did you see that? This looks like the root off of something, and there's a worm inside when I broke that up. What? That is so cool. But yeah, so this time around, there's no holes for them to get into the bottom of this. So I think that's why everything ended up coming out unscathed. All right, let's take a look at what we just harvested. You see all the different pieces in here? You see the different elements of this compost. The structure of this is really nice, really porous, in part because of all the different types of material that's been added over time. And again, this is 2 years worth of composting, 2 years worth of breaking down, and it results in some additional sweet potatoes for us. So again, these sweet potatoes are grown directly in this container of compost, and that's the result. Now, I imagine that the makeup of your compost and the makeup of our compost may be somewhat different. But given these results, if we have any compost left over, and this is the homemade type of compost, so over time we've added what to it? We've added some of our fruits and vegetables that the remains of the fruits and vegetables. We've added in some of our grass clippings. We've added in some of our sweet potato vines in the past. We typically mow over our sweet potato vines, mow over some of the dead foliage. We have added the stalks of our Brussels sprouts. There's all of that mixed in there, and then time. And again, because we're not all that careful about the mixture, it's not like we get this really hot compost. That's why we're talking about a couple years of waiting before we dug it out of the bottom of our bins. But then, when we had it lying there, we were able to take advantage of it, and I'm so glad that I did. Am I going to say to you that this is the best way to grow sweet potatoes? Start growing in your compost right away? Well, of course not. This isn't a massive harvest, but given the fact that I didn't do anything, I didn't feed it, I didn't do anything. I didn't even water it most of the time. I just let it take care of itself, and we still got results. That's promising, and something I think we want to look forward to and look into farther in the future. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you enjoyed this little sweet potato harvest. Hey, not a ton to it, a real quick harvest today, but we got some delicious sweet potatoes to take inside and enjoy. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe, and most importantly, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.